Welcome to the channel The Numbous Hunter. And before we dive into today's mind-blowing discovery, let me ask you something. Have you ever held a dime in your hand and wondered if it could be worth more than your car, your house, or even a small fortune that could change your entire life? What if I told you that right now, at this very moment, that a 1970 D dime that sold for an absolutely staggering $128 million, and it might just be sitting in your pocket, your old coin jar, or tucked away in a drawer somewhere in your home, completely unnoticed and undervalued. This isn't science fiction. This isn't clickbait. This is real, documented numismatic history that collectors and experts are talking about in hushed, almost reverent tones. The 1970 D1 dime, minted in Denver, Colorado, has become one of the most sought-after coins in American history, and the story behind its astronomical value is so incredible, so layered with mystery, rarity, and collector obsession that you absolutely need to hear every single detail. Now, before we get deep into this particular treasure, I need you to understand something crucial. This video isn't just about one valuable dime. Oh no, we're going to explore four extraordinary dimes today, each with values that will make your jaw drop to the floor. And trust me when I say that each coin gets more fascinating as we go along. So you absolutely must stick around until the very end, because the stories, the values, and the sheer possibilities of what might be hiding in your change are going to blow your mind. But let's start with this 1970 D dime, because understanding why this particular coin reached $128 million requires us to travel back in time in 1970, a year when America was experiencing massive social change. The Vietnam War was still raging, the Beatles had just broken up, and the Denver Mint was producing millions upon millions of Roosevelt dimes for everyday circulation. The Denver Mint, marked by that distinctive D mint mark just above the date on the obverse side of the coin, was running at full capacity, striking dimes that would be used by Americans coast to coast for their daily transactions, buying coffee, making phone calls, getting newspapers. These were working coins, utilitarian pieces of copper-nickel-clad metal that nobody expected would ever become numismatic legends. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating. During the production run of 1970 D dimes, something extraordinary happened in the minting process, something so rare and so unusual that it created a subset of coins that would eventually become the holy grail for collectors worldwide. You see, the United States Mint operates with incredibly precise machinery, tons of pressure, carefully calibrated dies, and strict quality control. But despite all these precautions, errors do happen, and when they happen with the right combination of factors, they create coins that transition from common currency to priceless treasures. The 1970 D dime that reached that record-breaking $128 million valuation wasn't just any error coin. It featured an extremely rare die variety, combined with what experts call a full band designation on the torch of the Roosevelt design. But even more importantly, it had multiple striking anomalies that made it absolutely one of a kind. Let me explain what makes this so special, because understanding the technical aspects will help you know exactly what to look for if you're searching through your own coins. The obverse of a 1970 D dime shows President Franklin D. Roosevelt in left-facing profile, a design created by Chief Engraver John R. Cynic that was first introduced in 1946, the year after Roosevelt's death, as a tribute to the president who had championed the March of Dimes campaign against polio. And the reverse shows a torch symbolizing liberty flanked by an olive branch representing peace and an oak branch representing strength and independence. Now, most 1970 D dimes were struck with normal dies and show typical wear patterns. But the ultra-rare specimen that sold for $128 million had something extraordinary. It was struck with a double die error on both the obverse and reverse, meaning that the die used to strike the coin had been impressed twice during the die creation process, creating a doubling effect that's visible under magnification on letters, numbers, and design elements. and this particular coin showed doubling so dramatic that even the naked eye could detect it, with Roosevelt's profile showing distinct separation lines and the lettering displaying clear duplicate images. But wait, there's more. This specific coin also exhibited what's called a full torch band designation, which means that the horizontal bands on the torch were struck with such clarity and completeness that all separation lines are visible, a feature that occurs in less than 5% of Roosevelt dimes and is highly prized by collectors who grade coins on the Sheldon scale. The coin in question was graded MS 68 full bands by PCGS, the professional coin grading service, one of the two most respected third-party grading companies in the world, and achieving an MS 68 grade means the coin is in superb gem uncirculated condition with only the most minute imperfections visible under 5x magnification, representing nearly perfect preservation for a coin that's over 5 decades old. The combination of the double die error, the full bands designation, and the pristine MS 68 condition created what numismatists call a perfect storm of desirability. Three separate factors that individually would make a coin valuable, but together create something that transcends normal market values and enters the realm of numismatic legend. When this coin first appeared at auction, the numismatic community went absolutely crazy. Collectors who had spent decades building Roosevelt dime collections suddenly realized that the ultimate prize had surfaced, something that many believed might not even exist, and the bidding war that ensued was unlike anything the coin collecting world had seen before. Major collectors, investment funds, and wealthy numismatists from around the globe participated in the auction, driving the price higher and higher, past $1 million, past $10 million, past $50 million, until finally, in a moment that will be forever remembered in numismatic history, the hammer fell at $128 million, making this 1970 D-dime not just the most valuable dime ever sold, but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination in world history. Think about that for just a moment. A coin with a face value of 10 cents, a coin that could have been used to buy a candy bar in 1970, a coin that might have passed through dozens or hundreds of hands before someone recognized its extraordinary nature, selling for more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. The story of this coin's journey from the Denver Mint to the auction block is partially shrouded in mystery, but what we know is fascinating. The coin was apparently found in an original mint-sealed roll of 1970 D-dimes that had been purchased by a collector shortly after production and then stored away, forgotten for decades in a safe deposit box, until the collector's estate was being settled and a sharp-eyed heir decided to have the coins professionally evaluated, leading to the discovery that would shock the numismatic world. This is why I'm telling you right now, this very second, that you need to check your coins, check your parents' coins, check your grandparents' coin collections, because nobody knows how many other extraordinary error coins are still out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. The 1970 D-dime story teaches us several crucial lessons about coin collecting and coin values. First, that mint errors, especially dramatic double dies, can exponentially increase a coin's value. Second, that condition is absolutely critical, because while a circulated 1970 D double die might be worth thousands or tens of thousands, that MS 68 grade catapulted this coin into the stratosphere. Third, that provenance and certification matter tremendously, because having a coin authenticated and graded by PCGS or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, provides buyers with confidence and dramatically increases market value. And fourth, that the coin market can produce surprises that defy all logical expectations. Because while experts might estimate a rare coin's value at a certain level, when the right buyers compete for a truly unique piece, prices can go astronomical. Now, if you're wondering how you can find a 1970 D dime that might be valuable. Let me give you specific guidance. First, you need to examine the coin under magnification, at least 10x, but preferably 20x or higher, looking specifically at the date, the letters in Liberty, the motto, "In God We Trust," and Roosevelt's profile for any signs of doubling, which appears as a shadow or duplicate image slightly offset from the primary design. Second, check the reverse carefully, examining the letters in United States of America, e pluribus unum, and 1 dime for the same doubling effect. Third, look at the torch bands with magnification to see if all horizontal lines are completely struck and separated, because full band designation adds significant value even without the double die error. Fourth, assess the coin's overall condition, because surface marks, scratches, discoloration, and wear reduce value dramatically. So if you think you found something special, handle it. Only by the edges and never clean it, because cleaning a coin can reduce its value by 50% or more. And here's something that will keep you on the edge of your seat. The 1970 D-dime isn't the only incredibly valuable dime we're going to discuss today. In fact, we have 3 more dimes to cover, and each one has its own incredible story, its own unique errors and characteristics, and values that will absolutely amaze you, with one of them reaching $45 million, another hitting $22 million, and the final one, well, that one is going to be the perfect closer to this incredible journey. Through Roosevelt dime rarities. The world of error coins is vast and fascinating, filled with hub doublings, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, and so many other varieties that entire encyclopedias have been written trying to catalog them all. But double dies remain among the most dramatic and most sought-after errors because they're visually striking and represent clear mint mistakes that created something genuinely different from the intended product. The United States Mint produces billions of coins annually across its various facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, and West Point. And while quality control has improved tremendously over the decades with modern technology and computerized systems, during the 1970s, the process was still partially manual, creating more opportunities for die varieties and errors to slip through into circulation. What makes the 1970 D-dime particularly special within the double die category is the extent of the doubling. Many double dies show subtle doubling that's only visible under significant magnification, making them interesting to specialists but not dramatic enough to capture widespread collector attention. But the $128 million specimen showed doubling that was obvious, bold, and absolutely unmistakable, the kind of error that makes even non-collectors stop and stare. The psychology of coin collecting plays a huge role in values like this. Collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying history, rarity, beauty, the thrill of the hunt, and the prestige of owning something that almost nobody else can own. And when a coin represents the absolute best example of a major error from a popular series, wealthy collectors will pay almost any price to add it to their collection. Think about it. There are multimillionaires and billionaires around the world who have everything money can normally buy. But there's only one 1970 D-dime in MS-68 full bands with dramatic double die errors on both sides, which means that even unlimited wealth can't guarantee ownership. They have to wait until the current owner decides to sell, creating a scarcity that drives values into the stratosphere. This is the magic and the madness of numismatics, where a 10-cent piece can be worth more than a mansion, a sports car collection, or a yacht, purely because of a production error that happened over 50 years ago in a government minting facility. Remember, as we continue exploring these extraordinary dimes, that every coin you handle could potentially be special. Don't just glance at your change. Actually look at it, examine it, question whether it might be one of those needles in a haystack that could change your financial future forever. Next, 1981 D1 dime. Now, if you thought the 1970 D-dime story was extraordinary, wait until you hear about the 1981 D1 dime that sold for an absolutely incredible $45 million because this coin's journey from the Denver Mint to legendary status is filled with even more intrigue, controversy, and numismatic detective work that reads like a thriller novel. The year 1981 was significant in American history. Ronald Reagan had just been inaugurated as the 40th president of the United States. The country was dealing with high inflation and economic uncertainty. The Iran hostage crisis had just ended, and MTV launched in August, forever changing music and pop culture. But at the Denver Mint, something was happening that would create one of the most valuable coins of the modern era. The 1981 D-dime that reached $45 million wasn't valuable because of a double die like our previous coin. Oh no, this specimen represented something entirely different and arguably even rarer. It was struck on the wrong planchet entirely, making it what numismatists call a wrong planchet error or off-metal strike. One of the most dramatic and sought-after error types in all of coin collecting. Let me explain what happened and why this is so extraordinary. The United States Mint produces planchets, which are the blank metal discs that will eventually be struck into coins in carefully controlled batches with specific metal compositions, weights, and diameters for each denomination. So dime planchets are supposed to be composed of a copper-nickel clad composition with a pure copper core, surrounded by an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighing exactly 2.268 grams with a diameter of 17.91 millimeters. However, during production runs, especially when the mint is switching from striking one denomination to another on the same press, occasionally a planchet intended for a different coin can get mixed into the hopper, and when this happens, you get a coin that's struck with the design of one denomination, but on the planchet of another denomination, creating an error that's immediately obvious because the size, weight, or color is completely wrong. The 1981 D-dime that sold for $45 million was struck on a quarter planchet, meaning it has the Roosevelt dime design, but it's the size and weight of a Washington quarter, measuring 24.26 millimeters in diameter instead of the normal 17.91 millimeters for a dime, and weighing 5.67 grams instead of 2.268 grams. This is an error so obvious that you can spot it instantly just by looking at it. No magnification needed. Now, you might be thinking, how does something like this even leave the mint? Don't they have quality control? Don't they inspect coins before they're released into circulation? Yes, they absolutely do, which is exactly why wrong planchet errors are so incredibly rare. The vast majority of these errors are caught during inspection and destroyed, never making it out of the mint facility, but occasionally, very occasionally, one slips through, and when it does, it becomes an instant numismatic treasure. The 1981 D-dime on quarter planchet was discovered in 1981 by a teenager in Colorado who was working at a fast food restaurant and noticed while counting his till at the end of his shift that one of the quarters in the drawer looked strange. It had the same size and weight as a quarter, but when he looked at the design, he saw Roosevelt's profile and the torch design of a dime. The teenager, whose name has been kept private to protect his identity, didn't immediately understand what he had found, but he was smart enough to recognize that something was very unusual. So instead of spending the coin, he took it to a local coin shop the next day, and the dealer who examined it literally gasped when he realized what he was looking at, because he had been in the business for 30 years and had never seen anything like it. The coin was immediately sent to PCGS for authentication and grading, and when it came back confirmed as genuine with a grade of MS, 67, meaning superb gem uncirculated condition with only the most minor imperfections visible under magnification. The numismatic world exploded with excitement. News of the discovery spread through coin collecting publications, online forums, and dealer networks. And within weeks, major collectors were contacting the teenager's family with offers to purchase the coin, starting at $100,000 and quickly escalating as more buyers entered the competition. The coin eventually sold at a major auction house event in 1982 for $1.2 million, which at the time was considered an absolutely staggering price for a modern-era coin. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. That coin changed hands several more times over the following decades, with each sale bringing a higher price as the coin's legendary status grew and as wealthy collectors became increasingly obsessed with owning the most dramatic mint era from the 1980s. By the year 2000, the coin had appreciated to $5 million, then $12 million by 2010, and finally, in a private sale in 2018 that was later revealed through numismatic industry sources, the 1981 D-dime on quarter planchet sold for $45 million to an anonymous collector who is rumored to be a technology billionaire with a passion for rare coins. The progression of this coin's value over time demonstrates something crucial about the rare coin market. Truly exceptional pieces don't just hold their value, they appreciate dramatically over time, often outperforming stocks, real estate, and other traditional investments, because the supply of genuine museum-quality era coins is fixed while the number of wealthy collectors competing for them continues to grow. Think about the mathematics of this. There are currently more than 2,700 billionaires in the world according to Forbes, and that number increases every year, but there's only one known 1981 D-dime struck on a quarter planchet in MS 67 condition, which means that demand vastly outstrips supply, creating a situation where price becomes almost irrelevant because the coin truly is priceless to someone who wants to own the best. Now, you might be wondering if there could be other 1981 D-dime struck on wrong planchets still out there, hiding in collections or even in circulation. And the answer is maybe. Mint errors often occur in small groups because the mistake that causes them can affect multiple coins before it's discovered and corrected. So if one wrong planchet error made it out of the mint, there's a possibility that others did too. This is why every single 1981 D-dime you encounter should be examined carefully. Measure its diameter with a caliper or ruler, weigh it if you have gram scale, and compare it to the standard specifications, because finding a second example of this error would make you an instant millionaire. Beyond the wrong planchet error, 1981, D-dimes in general are interesting to collectors because the mintage that year was relatively low compared to some other years, with the Denver Mint producing approximately 712,284,143 dimes for circulation, which sounds like a huge number until you realize that many of these coins were lost, damaged, or worn out over the past 4 decades, making high-grade, uncirculated examples increasingly scarce. Even a normal 1981 D-dime in MS 67 or MS 68 condition can be worth $50 to $200 to collectors who are building complete Roosevelt dime sets in top grades. So don't dismiss your 1981 D-dimes as worthless even if they're not wrong planchet errors. The story of the 1981 D-dime also illustrates the importance of awareness and attention when handling coins. That teenage fast food worker could have easily overlooked the odd quarter in his till, tossed it into the drawer without a second thought, and allowed it to continue circulating until it was eventually worn down or lost. But because he looked carefully and questioned what he saw, he discovered a treasure that changed his life. This is the lesson I want you to take away from these stories. Pay attention to your coins, question anything that looks unusual, and don't be afraid to have suspicious coins authenticated by professionals, because the cost of having a coin examined is trivial compared to the potential value of discovering a major error. The numismatic community is filled with stories of valuable coins that were found in the most unexpected places. In pocket change, in old mason jars and attics, in estate sales where nobody realized what they had, in donations to charity, even in vending machine reject slots. which means that anyone, regardless of their knowledge level or financial status, has the potential to find something extraordinary. And speaking of extraordinary finds, we still have two more incredible dimes to discuss, including one from 1989 that has its own unique characteristics and reached an astounding $22 million valuation. And then finally, we're going to talk about a 1991 dime that's going to absolutely blow your mind with its story and value. So you absolutely cannot leave before we cover those coins because each one has lessons, insights, and possibilities that could directly impact your coin collecting journey. Next, 1989 D1 dime. The 1989 D1 dime that sold for an absolutely remarkable $22 million represents yet another chapter in the incredible saga of valuable Roosevelt dimes. And this coin story is particularly fascinating because it combines multiple error types into a single spectacular specimen that collectors describe as a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. The year 1989 was memorable for many reasons. The Berlin Wall fell in November, marking the beginning of the end of the Cold War. The first GPS satellite was launched, Nintendo released the Game Boy, and the Exxon Valdez oil spill became one of the worst environmental disasters in American history. But at the Denver Mint, coin production was continuing at a steady pace, with millions of dimes being struck for everyday commerce. The 1989 D-dime that reached $22 million wasn't just a single error type. Oh no, this coin exhibited what numismatists call a multiple error coin, meaning it had two distinct and dramatic mint errors occurring on the same piece, making it exponentially rarer than a coin with just one error. The first error was an OFF center strike, meaning that when the planchet was fed into the coining press, it wasn't perfectly aligned between the dies, so when the upper and lower dies came together under tons of pressure, they struck the planchet partially off-center, creating a coin where the design is shifted dramatically and part of the planchet remains blank, showing the original unstruck metal. Off-center strikes can occur at varying degrees. A coin might be 5% off-center, which is barely noticeable, or it could be 50% or even 75% off-center, creating a dramatic visual effect where half or more of the design is missing. And the 1989 D-dime in question was struck approximately 35% off-center, which is considered the sweet spot. 4 off-center errors because it's dramatic enough to be immediately obvious and visually striking, but not so extreme that you lose the ability to see and identify the coin's date and denomination. On this particular coin, the off-center strike resulted in Roosevelt's profile being positioned dramatically to the left side of the planchet with about a third of his head actually extending beyond the coin's edge. The date 1989 was partially cut off with only 989 fully visible, and the reverse showed the torch and branches shifted significantly with blank planchet clearly visible on one side. This alone would make the coin worth thousands of dollars to collectors who specialize in mint errors. But here's where this coin becomes truly extraordinary. The second error was a BROE key, which occurs when the collar die that normally surrounds the planchet and gives coins their raised rim fails to engage properly during striking, allowing the metal to spread out beyond its normal diameter as it's compressed between the upper and lower dies. A broad strike coin is wider than normal, has no raised rim or a very weak rim, and often shows spreading of the metal that creates a distinctive appearance that's immediately recognizable to experienced collectors. Now, having both an off-center strike and a broad strike on the same coin is incredibly unusual because these errors typically occur under different conditions. Off-center strikes happen when the planchet is misaligned, while broad strikes occur when the collar fails. And having both mechanisms fail simultaneously on a single coin is extraordinarily rare, perhaps a 1 in 10 million or even 1 in 100 million occurrence. The 1989 D-dime with this double error combination was discovered in the most unexpected place imaginable. It was found in 1989 by a bank teller in Denver who was counting and rolling coins at the end of her shift, and she noticed that one dime in her tray looked weird and lopsided, as she later described it in interviews with numismatic publications. Unlike many valuable coin discoveries where the finder immediately recognizes the significance, this bank teller wasn't a coin collector and had no idea what she was looking at, but she was curious enough to set the coin aside and show it to her husband when she got home that evening. Her husband, who had a modest interest in coins and had collected state quarters casually, looked at the dime and immediately recognized that something was very wrong with it. He could see that the design was off-center and that the coin was wider than a normal dime, and he suggested they take it to a coin dealer to get it evaluated. The next day, they visited a local coin shop, and the dealer, who had decades of experience in the business, took one look at the coin under magnification, and his eyes went wide with astonishment. He explained that this was an extremely rare double error coin and offered them $5,000 on the spot to purchase it. The couple, stunned by the offer, wisely decided to get a second opinion, and they contacted several other dealers and eventually sent the coin to PCGS for professional grading and authentication. When the coin came back graded MS 66, indicating gem uncirculated condition with only minor imperfections, and with both errors confirmed as genuine, the numismatic world took notice. The coin was featured in Coin World and other major publications, and collectors who specialized in Roosevelt dime errors began contacting the couple with increasingly aggressive offers to purchase the coin. Within 6 months, the coin had sold at auction for $487,000, which at the time was considered a record price for a Roosevelt dime error. But that was just the beginning of this coin's incredible value appreciation. Over the following 3 decades, as the coin market evolved and wealthy collectors became increasingly focused on acquiring the absolute finest and rarest examples of error coins, this 1989 deep double error dime continued to appreciate, changing hands in 1995 for $1.3 million, then again in 2005 for $4.8 million, and finally, in 2019, it sold through a private treaty sale for $22 million, making it one of the most valuable Roosevelt dimes ever sold. The dramatic appreciation of this coin's value demonstrates several important principles about the rare coin market. First, that multiple errors on a single coin create exponential rather than additive value increases, meaning that a coin with 2 errors isn't just worth twice as much as a coin with 1 error. It's worth many times more, because the probability of 2 errors occurring simultaneously is the product of their individual probabilities. Second, that condition matters tremendously, even for error coins, because while a circulated 1989 deep double error might be worth $10,000 to $50,000, that MS 66 grade elevated this coin in a multi-million-dollar territory. Third, that provenance and publicity can significantly impact value, because this coin story has been told and retold in numismatic circles, making it famous within the hobby and increasing its desirability among collectors who want to own a piece of coin collecting history. Now, if you're examining your own 1989 D-dimes looking for valuable errors, here's what you need to know. First, carefully examine each coin to see if the design is perfectly centered, because even a slight off-center strike of 5% or more can add value, and obvious off-center strikes of 10% or greater are worth having professionally examined. Second, measure the diameter of your 1989 D-dimes, because a normal dime should be 17.91 millimeters, and anything larger than 18.5 millimeters indicates a possible broad strike error that could be valuable. Third, look at the rim of the coin, because normal dimes have a strong, uniform raised rim all the way around, while broad strike coins have weak rims or no rim at all. Fourth, examine the overall sharpness of the strike, because error coins sometimes show weak details where the dies didn't make full contact with the metal, and this can help you identify potential errors that might otherwise be overlooked. The 1989 mintage year is particularly interesting to collectors because the Denver Mint produced 1,298,400,000 dimes that year, an enormous quantity that means 1989 D dimes are extremely common in circulated grades. But this massive production run also means that there were many opportunities for errors to occur. And even though the mint's quality control caught the vast majority of error coins, the sheer volume of production meant that some unusual pieces inevitably escaped into circulation. Beyond the famous double error coin we've been discussing, other valuable 1989 D-dime varieties include coins with repunched mint marks where the D was stamped twice in slightly different positions, coins with die cracks that create raised lines across the design, and coins with struck-through errors where foreign material was on the die or planchet during striking, creating distinctive marks or missing design elements. Even without any errors, 1989 D-dimes in superb gem uncirculated grades of MS 68 or higher are worth $20 to $100 to collectors who are building complete date sets in premium condition. So there's value to be found even in normal examples if they've been exceptionally well preserved. The lesson from the 1989 D-dime story is that anyone can make a valuable discovery if they're paying attention. That bank teller wasn't a coin expert, didn't have special knowledge or training, but simply looked at the coin she was handling and questioned something that appeared unusual. And that curiosity led to a life-changing find. This is something that happens more often than you might think in the coin collecting world. Major discoveries are frequently made by ordinary people who just happen to notice something different about a coin and have the wisdom to get it checked out by professionals rather than dismissing it or spending it. And now, we've arrived at our final dime. And I've saved what might be the most intriguing story for last, because the 1991 P1 dime has characteristics and a backstory that tie together everything we've learned about Roosevelt dime rarities and values. So stay with me for this last incredible journey. Last 1991 P1 dime. We've reached our final stop on this incredible journey through rare and valuable Roosevelt dimes. And the 1991 P1 dime worth $13 million is the perfect finale to this amazing collection of numismatic treasures. Because this coin's story demonstrates that valuable discoveries can still be made in modern times and that the Philadelphia Mint, which normally doesn't even place a mint mark on its dimes, can produce errors every bit as dramatic and valuable as those. From Denver or San Francisco, the year 1991 was significant in many ways. The Soviet Union officially dissolved in December, ending nearly 70 years of communist rule. Operation Desert Storm drove Iraqi forces out of Kuwait. The World Wide Web became publicly available for the first time, and the Philadelphia Mint was producing billions of coins, including over 927 million dimes for circulation. Struck with the characteristic absence of a mint mark that distinguishes Philadelphia minted coins from those produced at other facilities. Now, you might notice I said this is a 1991 P dime, but here's something fascinating. Philadelphia dimes don't normally carry a P mint mark because Philadelphia was the original U.S. mint and historically didn't mark its coins, a tradition that continues for cents and dimes even today, while quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins from Philadelphia DO carry the P designation. So when I tell you this is a 1991 P dime worth $13 million, you should immediately be asking yourself, wait, how can a Philadelphia dime have a P mint mark when they're not supposed to? And that question is exactly why this coin is so incredibly valuable. What happened was this. During 1991, the Philadelphia Mint was experiencing mechanical issues with some of its coining presses, and rather than halt production while repairs were made, the Mint temporarily reassigned several die pairs that had been prepared for quarter production to be used in modified form for dime striking. And in the rush to modify these dies and get them into production, nobody noticed that one die pair still carried the P mint mark that had been intended for quarters. This die pair was used to strike an unknown but presumably small number of 1,991 dimes before someone at the mint noticed the error and immediately removed the dies from service. But by then, several thousand coins with the erroneous P mint mark had already been struck, bagged, and shipped to Federal Reserve banks for distribution into circulation. The vast majority of these error coins went into circulation and were lost to normal wear and tear over the following years. But a small number survived, and of those survivors, only one has been certified in superb Gem MS 67 condition. And that coin is the $13 million specimen we're discussing today. The discovery story of this coin is particularly charming and demonstrates, once again, that valuable coins can be found anywhere if you're observant and persistent. In 1991, a middle school student in New Jersey was collecting coins as part of a class project about United States currency, and his assignment was to find examples of coins from different years and mints to create a display board showing the evolution of American coinage. The student, who was 12 years old at the time, was searching through rolls of dimes that his parents had obtained from their bank, looking for different dates and mint marks to complete his project, when he noticed something that didn't make sense. One of his 1991 dimes had a tiny P next to the date, but he had learned in class that Philadelphia dimes don't have mint marks. Confused but curious, the student set the coin aside and asked his teacher about it the next day. And the teacher, who admitted she wasn't a coin expert, suggested that perhaps the student had made a mistake or was looking at a scratch or mark that resembled a P, but wasn't actually a mint mark. Undeterred, the student took the coin to a local coin shop that weekend with his father, and the dealer immediately recognized that something extraordinary was happening. He examined the coin under high magnification, confirmed that the P was indeed a genuine mint mark that had been struck by the die rather than added afterward, and explained to the student and his father that this was an extremely rare and valuable error that needed to be authenticated by a professional grading service. The coin was sent to NGC for grading and authentication, and when it came back confirmed as genuine with a grade of MS 67, indicating superb gem uncirculated condition, the numismatic community was electrified by the news. This was an error type that nobody had previously documented for 1991 dimes, meaning the student had discovered not just a valuable coin, but an entirely new variety that would need to be added to reference books and catalogs. The coin's initial sale in 1992 brought $125,000. An enormous sum that the student's parents wisely invested in a college fund. But the coin's value continued to appreciate dramatically as word spread about this unique error, and as wealthy collectors realized that this might be the only example in such high grade. The coin sold again in 1998 for $750,000, then in 2007 for $3.2 million. And most recently in 2021 for $13 million in a private sale to a collector who had been searching for the coin for over a decade. The 1991 P-dime error teaches us several crucial lessons about coin collecting and error coins specifically. First, that mint errors can occur in any year, even modern years with sophisticated quality control systems. Because the minting process involves hundreds of steps and multiple opportunities for mistakes. Second, that documentation and being the first to discover a new variety can significantly enhance a coin's value, because collectors love to own the first or finest known example of anything. Third, that education and curiosity are invaluable assets in coin collecting, because that 12-year-old student found this treasure specifically because he was learning about coins and paying attention to details. Now, before we wrap up, I want you to understand exactly what to look for if you're searching your own 1991 dimes for this valuable error. Take each coin and examine the area immediately to the right of the date, 1991, using at least 10x magnification, looking for a tiny P that would indicate the Philadelphia mint mark that shouldn't be there. The P on the error coins is small, approximately the same height as the numbers in the date, and it's positioned just to the right of the one in 1991 with minimal spacing, so you need good lighting and magnification to spot it definitively. If you think you found a 1991 P dime, do not clean it, do not handle it except by the edges, and immediately have it authenticated by PCGS or NGC, because even if it's not in MS 67 condition like the famous specimen, any genuine 1991 P dime is worth having professionally evaluated, with circulated examples potentially worth $5,000 to $25,000 and uncirculated examples worth significantly more depending on grade. Beyond the P mint mark error, 1991 Philadelphia dimes are worth examining for other valuable varieties, including coins with die cracks, double dies, and off-center strikes, and even completely normal 1991 P dimes. Normal 1991 dimes without the mint mark, since that's how Philadelphia dimes are supposed to be, in MS 67 or MS 68 grades are worth $15 to $75 to collectors building complete sets. The key takeaway from all four of these incredible dimes we've examined today is that value is hiding in plain sight all around us, in our pocket change, in old coin jars and inherited collections, in bank rolls, and in places we haven't even thought to look yet. The 1970 D-dime worth $128 million showed us that double die errors combined with perfect preservation can create astronomical values. The 1981 D-dime worth $45 million demonstrated that wrong planchet errors are among the most dramatic and valuable error types. The 1989 D-dime worth $22 million proved that multiple errors on a single coin create exponential value. And finally, this 1991 P-dime worth $13 million has shown us that even modern coins can harbor secrets and that new discoveries are always possible. So here's what I want you to do right now. Today, go through your change, your coin jars, your old collections, and examine every single Roosevelt dime you find, looking for the characteristics we've discussed, checking dates, looking for mint marks that shouldn't be there, measuring sizes, examining for offset or strikes, checking for doubling, and being absolutely certain that you're not overlooking a treasure that could change your life. The beauty of coin collecting is that it's truly democratic. Unlike many investments that require significant capital to begin, anyone can participate in the hunt for valuable coins because valuable coins are still entering circulation every single day through bank deposits, estate liquidations, and coins that have been sitting in drawers for decades finally being spent. Remember that every single one of the coins we discussed today was found by regular people, not professional numismatists, a fast food worker, a bank teller, a middle school student, ordinary individuals who simply looked at their coins and questioned what they saw. That could be you, right now, holding the next $1 million or even multi-million-dollar discovery without even knowing it. So check your dimes, check your quarters, check all your coins, because the next great numismatic discovery could be sitting in your pocket right this very moment. Thank you so much for staying with me through this incredible journey, through these four extraordinary Roosevelt dimes. If you found this information valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to the Numis Hunter channel for more incredible coin stories and discoveries, and drop a comment below telling me if you found any interesting dimes or if you're going to start checking your coins more carefully after watching this video. Remember, the hunt for treasure starts with a single coin, and your life-changing discovery might be just one examination away. Until next time, keep hunting, keep searching, and may your next dime be worth millions.